Welcome back to another edition of the Dan Gets Rich Endurance Sports Podcast. Today is Sunday, December 5th, and this is episode number 17 of season number 3. Please follow us on our social media as that Dan Gets Rich on the Instagram and the Facebook machine. And please hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you consume your podcast. My name is Richard Parks, and I am joined, as always, by the captain of the DGR ship, Daniel King. Dan Cole. What's up, Dan?
What's going on, Rich? And congratulations, buddy. We made it to 100 episodes, and we are excited to be doing this live from Daytona with the owner of Clash Daytona, Bill Christie. So thank you so much for joining us, Bill.
Absolute pleasure to be with you guys, as always. You know, we always have so much fun, but my congratulations to you guys. That's a really big accomplishment. So thanks for having me.
Right on.
No worries. I know a few years ago when Rich walked up to me and he said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" I never thought 3 years later we'd still be doing this, but that's the way it goes.
Bill, I said last week that this was the second longest relationship I've ever had in my life, and I couldn't have it with any better co-host than Dan. It's been a pleasure, Dan. I really, really have enjoyed it.
As have I, Rich, and yes, we are honored to have Bill here with us. I know we are in the second half of the day here for the challenge weekend, or I should say third day, really, because you had a bunch of events going on Friday as well. But while the race is going on, we thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time out of the day. I know you're going to have a busy afternoon, and I know you love to go down there and hand out medals at the finish line as well. So I know you'll be looking forward to doing that a little bit later.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of my favorite things to do. My favorite two races is the kids race, and Christian Blumenfeld and Lizzie Natray were down there, two pros, all day handing out medals and getting pictures with the kids. It was just an absolutely great thing to see. I was there, but yesterday and today are my days, but that was hands down my favorite race of all the events we do over the festival weekend.
It is amazing the pros that come out and really embrace everything, and I feel like with the races that you've ran over the last couple of years, previously as Challenge and now as Clash, they've so many people. I mean, I was walking down the race start. I saw Andrew Starkowitz down there. And even though obviously he had a rough week leading up to this race, even getting to the starting line. And, you see so many pros out there, and you see Christian, who's kind of been he's the face of triathlon. I think he's had one of the most impressive years you could ever dream of as a pro triathlete.
Absolutely.
So just to get them involved, is that something that you talk to the athletes about when they sign on and coming to Clash, or is that just something that happens organically?
So for the most part, people join us for a couple of reasons. One of which this track this venue is known to be the fastest in the world. We've been told that, so that's not us just making up information. So that's a big part of it. The second big part of it, obviously, is the purse. But the third part of it, probably the strongest component, is the way that we treat all our athletes for the experience. Both pro and amateur, the age groupers, to see their face crossing the line, if it's their first race or if it's their 30th race, they walk across what is comparatively a world championship experience. So that's from the pro standpoint, they come because they love being here. Things happen. Starkowitz, as you know, broke his bike. We got him a bike, just on and on. But they love being here, and we love having them.
Yeah, I saw Starkowitz, as I mentioned, walking down to the start, and I asked him how he was doing this morning, and he goes, "I'm hurting." And obviously, as you know, he's involved in that bike crash, broke his bike, rode someone else's bike. I think he had he said he got stitches in his face, and obviously had some road rash and things. So, I mean, that's a kind of fearless competitor you get when these people come out here, and obviously a substantial prize purse for those pro athletes coming out here, and the last chance to actually score points in their rankings for the year, which obviously garners additional money on that. So
we passed out as a part of the Challenge family came in, and the Challenge family passed out their World Point bonus checks last night. So it was really nice to see that on top of what we passed out yesterday on the $100,000 that we gave out as a purse. A great relationship with those folks, and really nice ad too.
For sure. And, when you talk about the entire experience, kind of take us back through when you were part of Challenge family, and you decided to branch off and do Clash and put together the event, and kind of how this whole thing came about. I mean, obviously, you have multiple races coming up in 2022, 2023, and we're looking forward to seeing those races as well. So kind of take us through the development and the involvement of how Clash came about.
We were sitting on the couch for one of our team meetings, and Andre and Philip had just come back from two different tracks. One was Road Atlanta, which is a phenomenal sports car course. The other was Watkins Glen. And Philip Hay said, "Do you know what's right on the property at Road Atlanta?" And I said, "Well, yeah, Road Atlanta and camping, and it's right outside Atlanta." He said, "Bill, the Fox Factory test course is there with 3 different tracks, 8 miles each." He said, "There's trail running, there's gravel riding." He said, "It'd be a great place for a 60-mile, middle of the night relay with headlights on inside the facility." He said, there's so much here. He said, "It is silly for us to eliminate facilities because we can't find a place to swim." And so we started talking about it, and we then talked about a couple other venues, Sonoma, some other places that we know we want to go. And I'll never forget Andre Opar looking at me and saying, "We're an endurance company. We're not a swim bike company. We're not a swim bike run company anymore." And we all sort of looked at each other and said, "Wow, we know he's right." We've got a couple swim bike runs coming that are new facilities. We've got a couple of endurance that are gravels, half marathons, mountain biking, so on and so forth, relays. And that was really the genesis. And then we said, "Okay, what's the name?" And we went through a whole process, and Clash Endurance was born because we knew there was, regardless of the endurance sport, a struggle between mind and body. And as I sat with the group, all of us being athletes, we know what it's like to be at a point where you think your body can't do it, but you say to yourself, "I got 5 minutes, and I can get through 5 minutes." And so Clash Endurance was born. I'd like to tell you it was more complicated than that, but it was that simple.
A lot of great ideas aren't that complicated. I think you took a page out of the Dan Gets Rich Triathlon podcast, and a while ago we changed it over to the Dan Gets Rich Endurance Sports podcast. We saw the same need, and that we weren't just limiting ourselves just to the triathlon world. We discussed trail running, endurance, all phases of endurance sports. So I think it's a great move for you guys to.
Thank you.
You can open that door to anything. Correct.
It's true. It's true.
I think that's fantastic.
And you look at the number of facilities we have around the country, and the race venues where we can protect athletes the entire time. As you look here and you see the pros racing in the entire facility, not worried about traffic control, not worried about the ability to get to a hospital. We've got a beautiful healthcare facility with MRI machine on location. So everything that is needed to support athletes is here. You can park your car, you walk 2,000 meters, you're in the middle of what we call the fan zone. It's the Olympic Village right next to me. We like to make it easy, and we want it to be safe. And there were so many facilities that were like that. We had to go at them.
So last time you were on, we were kind of prying out of you where the next races were going to be, and you said, "Think of the ones that have water." You told us that. Think of the ones that will have water. Next week we came on, we had this list of racetracks, NASCAR tracks that have that access to the water. Now you're not limited to that. You can open up to any of the facilities.
That's correct. Absolutely.
Well, good. We look forward to that. And I had the unique experience, Bill. I actually came out here and raced the sprint yesterday, and I don't know if I actually was racing, but I was out there participating, so I won the full experience. I've done this ever since. I've been here every single weekend that you guys have put this race on. Obviously, top-notch venue, probably one of my favorite venues to come to, race, spectate, and enjoy everything that you guys have. And yes, it is a class for those people who haven't actually been out to one of these events or been to a Clash event. Highly recommend it. They're going to treat the athletes probably better than any other race venue. The freedom that you kind of have in Daytona here. I actually rented an RV and stayed here throughout the weekend. It's kind of crazy at night.
It's pretty special, isn't it?
We're just out throwing the football, and you're in the middle of Daytona, walking around, and it's just such a unique experience.
So you saw my relay team, right? You saw who I raced with? It was hysterical.
Yeah.
We've got a group that camps together and has since day one. So Andrew Starkowitz is right across from me. Alicia Kay is right there with Jared Schumacher. Tim and Rennie were right across from the kids' playground. And they were, what are we going to do with the kids? And before you know it, all the kids from the driver owner lot were now celebrating. And they're like, we can't get rid of all the kids. They came to our house. So it's if you look at the lot, it's sold out. We're going to expand that next year. But yeah, I'd have to agree with you that it's the experience. It's definitely the way to do it.
It is for sure, and when you do the sprint here, I mean, you get the red carpet treatment. Literally, you get the red carpet when you're going down there, and there's not many venues where you're coming directly out of the water and you run along a carpet all the way into transition for that. The one thing that I did notice, Bill, on that is the racks didn't actually have numbers on them. Was there a conversation that went on regarding that, or kind of behind the scenes, or how did that evolve?
There definitely was. Andre and Philip, there's no guesswork with those guys. They think about everything and they worry about everything. Let's talk about the carpet first, because that's me. I did a race in Latin America, came out of the water. For me, I had a great time. Like I said, for me, it was a good time. You guys know I'm a horrible triathlete. Ran to transition, which was an old tennis basketball court, picked up a rock, didn't know it on my foot, got on the bike. My foot was warm and bloody when I looked down. And I swore at that point, if you're going to run, I want you to run on carpet. So we blow it and we sweep it, and there's not a place that you're barefooted and don't have carpet underneath your foot. The second part of that question, I forgot. What was the second part?
No, the second part of that question was the
number
racks. It was probably the first time that I've seen that. Obviously, Wahoo is a sponsor, so it said like Wahoo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As far as
the rack.
but
Yeah.
it was put your bike wherever you want.
So the big part of that is, as you know, we went longitudinal racks as opposed to perpendicular racks. Mm-hmm. And when Andre and Philip came in, they said there's a disadvantage to having your bike racked on a perpendicular to the inside because it takes you longer to get outside. And when we did that, and we still protected the athletes and wanted them to feel safe about not being stacked on top of each other. When the racks got that long, we made a decision that said, rather than parking somebody where they may not want to be if they're fast out of the water and into transition, but not fast with their bike to run it through transition, it made a lot of sense to give them the option. So it was another fan experience, race experience that we listened to people, and we wanted them to have that choice. I will tell you that on my relay team yesterday, I was surprised my swimmer got out of the water, and it was Rick Allen. So I can abuse Rick here. Rick's the NBC personality and announcer who does all our races, and so it was Rick swam, I biked, and we were lucky enough to have Lisa Roberts, the ex-pro, run for us, and we raced against Tim O'Donnell, their good friend who's a Navy SEAL, Nathan, and Rennie ran for him. Tim was gracious enough to give Rick a 22-minute head start on an 800-meter course and still beat him out of the water. And he came into transition, and we parked our bikes very close to the entrance because I didn't want him to have to run down all the carpet to get to me. And I knew I was fast enough with my bike that I could pick up some time. So that's part of the logic as to why we do and why we did, specifically not number those. We wanted people to have that option. And that was feedback that we got from other athletes. That, and I think the amount of carpet that we use and the food this year is all barbecue for the athletes. So you can have your choice between pulled pork, pulled chicken, pasta salad. So we're going to feed you well.
Welcome to the South, baby. Welcome to the South.
I didn't say it was fried.
Welcome to the South.
I did notice when I crossed the finish line, and then I walked around the corner, and all of a sudden I saw someone with a huge heaping plate of food, and I was like, man, I missed that. Where was that?
Well, the food trucks were actually pretty spectacular. My favorite was the Poke Bowl. I might have spent a little time over there. But yeah, we had 4 food trucks inside. We've got a beer garden. We've got a wine garden that obviously doesn't cost you anything. And, it's all about what do we have to do to make you athletes sit back and say, I'm coming back. This is the best experience I've ever had. And you guys are talking about it. You crossed the line. Dan, so you get it. You were there. I saw you cross. And that was a lot of fun. So,
yeah, it was. It wasn't my best when I looked at my swim time. So I'm in the water, and I decided to go no wetsuit.
What were you thinking?
My thought process was I'm only swimming 800 yards, and then I got out and looked at my time, and I said, "Man, I really could have used the benefit of a wetsuit."
we have a saying, and that is, "Why wouldn't you?"
So the last time I wore my wetsuit here last year, I did the half distance. And when I came out of the water, my wetsuit got stuck on my foot and it fumbled around. And so I decided on a shorter distance, if I saved a minute, I put on my wetsuit, I probably will lose a minute taking it off. So that was my initial thought process on it.
So Tony Dodds, who is ITU triathlete for many years, was a 16 Olympian. Taught me a trick, and that is to cut off the bottom 5 inches of the legs, and that way you can step right out. So a very dear friend of mine who has gone total triathlete crazy, he said, "What wetsuit should I buy?" And I told him which one he should buy. I told him, cut 5 inches off the bottom. He said, you're kidding me. I said, no, cut the 5 inches off. I'll teach you how to get out of the thing with 2 steps. He said, I just paid $1 gazillion for this thing. I said, if I ever steered you wrong? He said, no. I said, cut the 4 inches off. So he showed up to the house for triathlon training, transition training one day. And, the way we had it set coming out of the pool, you had to run far to get your heart rate up. I did mine. It's the only thing I do well. Let's be fair. I stink at everything else, but my transitions are pretty good. So I smoked him in transition. I handed him a knife box cutter, and I said, are you ready to take that 5 inches off? Needless to say, he cut it pretty quick.
So Bill, obviously, as you're a tall guy, I'm a tall guy. If I cut 5 inches off, I'm basically going to have a pair of shorts. The wetsuits most of the time are already short on me. So if I cut an additional 5 off, it'll be.
I can't help you then.
Hey, why doesn't a wetsuit company come out 5 inches shorter? You start that company right there. Hey, speaking of transition, Wahoo offered $1,000 bonus to the fastest transition time. I thought that was
right. Cool.
Yesterday for the pros in T1 and 2, both the men and women, and I think that was cool because that's part of the race. That's part of the race, and to to acknowledge these pros that are doing a good job at that.
So the women's side, I mean, the variance on who won and who didn't was 1 second. And you know, it was tight. The men were as tight in T1. T2 was a little more spread apart. For the women, T2 was a foot race too. Wahoo has been a spectacular group to work with. They came in from Europe. They were, I think, pretty pleased at how we set that up, and it was flat out fun because the pros knew that, you know, they could put $2,000 in their purse just by humping through a tryout, you know, through that transition zone.
Very neat.
Let's get into the pro race because I think it's such a unique venue, and for the spectators, I mean, a lot of people who race love the idea of being able to watch the pros. I did hear before we get into the actual race. I did hear.
Is this good or bad?
No, it's fine. I did hear one suggestion that I thought was kind of unique, and, you know, take it for what it's worth, but having the pros go on Saturday morning racing and then having the age group go later in the afternoon, so they may actually get to race under the lights or do their running portion under the lights and then switch it up a little bit. That way, it's a little bit, you know, it's a different atmosphere for the age group athletes where, you know, you'll have more people there actually spectating and cheering on. I just thought that was a unique perspective, and, you know, I leave that for what it's worth. But what do you think of that?
You know, there's I just got to point out Nathan real quick. Nathan, let's be fair, I smoked you on the bike yesterday. However, having said that, Nathan's son, who's also joined us, last year went by me like I was standing still. I think you ran a 5:15. Is that what you ran? 5:15s? So he's an upcoming junior. To your point, first and foremost, we listen to everything. We believe that we are not perfect. We want to continue to reinvent ourselves. We want to continue to get better. We did do a race under the lights, if you remember, 2 years ago with the pros.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And the biggest part of that is, magnificent as the lighting is on this facility, there are some dark spots. And we have not yet figured out the best way to do that. They think that they've got some lighting structures that will allow that to happen. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at adding a fourth day for a lot of reasons. The kids' race was magnificent, but we think we probably are going to need to add another day. I can't promise that. I can't speak to that. But there was too many requests to have 11 events, and we had to cut back. The aqua bike went away this year, which I was sad. So we've got some work to do, and you know, it never ceases to surprise me. So, you know, Dan, my comment back to you is careful what you wish for.
I always ask for everything and then worry about it later, right? As far as and again, we'll get into the pro race, but again, as far as the total numbers, I mean, first year being Clash Endurance, are you happy with where the sprint is? Are you happy with where the intermediate, the kids race, the total participation numbers, the Facebook viewers that you had for the pro race? I mean, are you kind of happy with where that all transpired in the first year?
So let's put some relative terms here, Dan. Last year, the championship was the only championship race in the world. And if you wanted to race, you came to Daytona from wherever you were in the world. The number of athletes we had that year compared to this year, I thought with all the other races going on this year, we were probably going to normalize a bit. We were darn near the exact same numbers, which frankly surprised us. We were prepared for it, but we never thought the numbers were going to be that strong. So that tells me, I think we're doing some things right. But as I said, we will continue to learn, continue to get better, continue to listen to comments like yours, because we think that's important.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I mean, when you have it's starting on Friday and you had the pro panel Friday morning, and then you had the races during Friday, and the 5K Jingle Bell run I think they had it was obviously a
sold
great
out.
Sold out.
It was crazy.
So we were coming down here, and we're like, Sky's kids were going to come down and run, and that was part of the allure, that we were like, hey, you guys are going to come down on weekend. We're going to hang out in the infield, but you have to run the 5K. And that was part of it. We go to sign up, and it was, I think it was like 600 plus athletes ran the 5K on Friday night.
They capped it at 680. 800 wanted to race. So we let people, okay, you don't have a bib, you might not get a medal, but go enjoy yourself. So my bride said to me at the last minute, hey, 8 of us want to run. And I said, you're kidding, right? You didn't register. She goes, what? I think we know somebody. And I said, don't expect a medal.
Oh, membership has its privileges. It has its privileges. Hey, I think it's a testament we talked about before you came on, that you're actually sitting here having a discussion with us right now. I think it's a testament to the team you put together. You talked about Andre and Philip, and kind of talk for a minute about the team and how you put this team together. I know we talked about it a little bit before we came on, but I think it's important to understand that so much goes into this, and how quality of people you have, because literally you're sitting here cool as a cucumber. If this was my race, I would be freaking out probably. Run around making sure everything is taken care of right now. And speak to that a little bit.
I was lucky enough, as I told you, to meet Andre when I raced Lima. We stayed connected. He lives in Jacksonville. And during Miami, he brought in Philip. And Philip, at that point, had been out of the business with the folks in Tampa for about a year, maybe a little more. And he was thinking about going back to work for Johnson & Johnson. And I said, Philip, don't do anything until you talk to me. So having those two on board, I already had a CFO, John Creed, who's an amazing guy that I've known for years. I said, John, I need a good CFO. Stacy Melanson was another NASCAR employee that wanted to retire. And she and I had a conversation, and boom, she came on board. Lindsay Gerneth, Kendall Lewis, on our social media digital team, and on our Expo facility management team, another Daytona International Speedway person that we snarfed. We're just magnificent additions to the team. We are in the process. We lost our vice president of marketing. She had her second child, and it was very obvious, very quick, that 2 little ones is a challenge. So we are looking for a VP of marketing, branding, digital, social. The nice thing about our organization, and we are looking for 2 other positions as well, but the nice thing about the organization is that when we rent our tracks, we get operational people in the deal. We get security in the deal. We get facilities management in the deal. You see the amount of bike fence, they call it bike racks. They're here that we hang all our beautiful scrim on. And those are provided as a part of the track rental with some pretty specific security. And I think if you try to get to the finish line yesterday, it was a bit of, I got stopped. I had my jacket on and my credentials were under my jacket. And the guy stops me and he says, you can't go in there. And Rick Allen was with me, and the guy recognized Rick Allen. Rick said, I think you can let him in. That's how I got it. So I hope that answered your question, but we're really lucky. We're looking for, at this point, 3 more people, but they're all team. We're looking for a merchandise specialist. And we're lucky enough to have Cassie and AJ with us, who go and they manage our swim course, and they go all around the country with us because we can depend on them. So we're lucky, but we need more people. So if you hear this podcast and you fit any of those descriptions, send me your resume.
Daniel Cole.
Check.
All
right.
I think it's fantastic. We've talked at nauseum about athlete experience, and you guys are doing it right here. Obviously, everybody that comes here is having a fantastic time, from athletes to spectators, and I think it's a testament of the team and yourself and what you guys have done here.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
Now let's talk a little bit about the pro race. Getting into that, I mean, I saw when the original list came out back in October, I was like, holy cow, I can't believe the number of athletes you are going to have at that. Obviously, things change. People change different races. As far as the overall participation between the women field and the men field, I mean, were you happy with the turnout that we had? Were there any shift and changes? I know, obviously, you get injuries, you get people that race, and like you said, things with Starkowitz. I mean, but your overall star power for sure was there. But overall, was there anything that shocked you a little bit about that?
We lost 3 women to injury. From a men's standpoint, our star list really didn't change. So Matt Hansen was here, Ben Canute was here, Starkowitz was here. I mean, we're the end. Christian Blumenfeld showed up to race. It didn't cease to amaze me. Magnus Ditlev was here. The only folks we didn't have here went to one specific race, but there were only 3 of them in the field. We had everybody show up that we thought would show up unless there was injury or mitigating circumstance. So the field for us, in my view, the women's race was probably the best women's race I've ever seen. When you see Herring going at it with Lucy Hall and Jody Stimpson's closing on him fast, it was an amazing field. Laura Siddall came out of nowhere to take 5th. Leslie Smith was here. I mean, we had some of the top ranked women in the field for people who this distance works, and this distance doesn't work for some long course athletes. Rinny was going to race. She called me 2 weeks ago and said, Bill, I've been sick. I want to be there. I'm going to be there to support you guys in the race, but I just don't think I should push it. I said, hey, I totally get that. Sarah Crowley, who this is not her distance, called and said, if I don't get home, they might shut the borders again. Yep. And I've been home in 2 weeks. So the 3 that we lost, 2 of them I mentioned. Lucy raced Bahrain, and I think that did her in for the year. So we only lost really 3 women. Vincent Luis we lost because I think he had a field that he was going to try and compete in for other reasons. At the end of the day, it was a foot race, and it was a great pro race. And let's be fair, you don't see many pro races that have that much talent on the start line. We did keep it small. We have committed to 25 pros, and the reason for that was television time. We have continued to support the pros by making this an opportunity for them to be seen by sponsors all around the world and to get their sponsors to understand the power of television. And when you look at our numbers, we're going to be on, I believe, the 9th on NBCSN. I believe the 11th. I'm probably going to be embarrassed by stating that on NBCSN. And then I'll break the news here. We were posted for January 1st at 1:30. NBC called me last week, and they moved us to prime time, 5 o'clock. So we'll be on the broadcast channel in prime time.
That is unbelievable. That's a testament to what you've done and the exposure you've brought to it. I mean, to get a primetime slot on the first day of January amongst everything that's going on during that time. Congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
Huge feather in the cap for you. Let's talk about you alluded to Herring running down Hall at the end of the race. That hands down, I agree with you. That was unbelievable. When there was a mile and a half left and Herring was running, I think at that time she was running about a 5:45 pace, and Lucy Hull, I think, was running about a 6:15. So you were like, technically, she could catch her and they could be sprinting down the red.
Yeah,
which is,
absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So did the women's field, I mean, Lucy was basically winning 95% of the race.
She was.
Until that last mile. Did that race turn out how you thought it was going to, or did you expect a different outcome, or kind of how that plays out? Because when you get that hybrid distance, sometimes it's a little bit different. Some of those athletes that are used to longer courses, may play a little bit differently. Shorter distance athletes, they may push a little bit harder and take them out of their comfort zone a little bit sooner than they want. So kind of tell us what your thoughts were on that women's race.
So we had bets going on in the booth, and I'm not going to tell you what the bets were, but I will tell you that it was a heck of a battle. Jody was right in there coming back hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the day, the great equalizer between the ITU athlete and the mid-distance, long-distance athlete is being locked down in your aero bars.
Mm-hmm.
And on the run, they cramp up. And that's the difference to those distance athletes. Yep. So it's a great equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
The second component to that is as you're running and as you're biking, there's no place to hide.
Right.
And so you can see who you have to run down. And I think that had a lot to do with Herring and Hall yesterday. And Jody was coming at him. Laura was coming at him. And they were not, they were not leaders, as you know. They were coming from the back of the field. So
it was amazing. I mean, just talking about Laura coming back, I mean, I think she was 4.5 minutes down, I think, going out on the run, but she blazed that trail. I mean, for sure. I mean, those athletes that were coming back from behind, obviously battling for that third spot on the podium was. I mean, the whole race was unbelievable. That the athletes are so closely compared. But yes, I agree with you. It is a lot different sitting in aero bars for as long as they are, and then trying to get out on the run for sure.
Yeah, especially if you're not used to it. A lot of these ITU athletes aren't.
Yep.
So it is the great equalizer.
And then going into just talking about on the men's race, obviously you had we alluded to Christian Blumenfeld, which the dream year that he had, and obviously capped off the win. But Magnus Ditlev put on such an impressive performance. I mean, he was third over at the 70.3 championships. I mean, when he crossed, I think it was mile 12, he took over the lead from Ben Canute. And you could just see the grit on their face. I mean, he was putting time into everybody. It looked on every single lap. And then you had, you had Christian, you had Ben sitting there kind of, a minute and a half, 2 minutes behind a lot. And they weren't working together, but I think they were pacing off each other. And I guess really when you look at it, Magnus, I think he was just trying to put as much time as he could on the bike because he's such a strong cyclist on
Yes.
and then to get out of the run. So I don't know if Christian was biding, saving a little energy for the run because he caught him. I want to say it was probably about halfway through the run.
Just a little bit more than that, and he was not first out of the water, so he was in that second pack. And the second pack, if you looked at him, it was a slugfest.
Yeah.
And Ben was out front and got out with a pretty good lead and held a pretty good lead for a while.
Yeah.
But then Magnus turned it on the bike and it was over. Starkey was a little banged up and on a bike that wasn't his.
And that's the amazing thing. I just want to stop real quickly. He's on a bike that's not his and still riding over 30 miles an hour.
Guys are rock. And he's spent enough time on this track to understand watching the flags and where to burn his power and where not to burn his power. But back to Christian and Magnus. And Rudy, I mean, let's talk about Rudy for a minute. Rudy was sick all year, lost 10 pounds, put 5 pounds on, still thin as thin can be. and he dropped the hammer. So as you look at that podium with Matt Hansen, broken foot, and here he is 2 months later. It was star-studded. After one came across, 2, 3, 4, 5 were flat on their backs, sucking for air. It was a great men's finish. But I do want to talk about the personalities of those folks for a second. Let's start with Christian. I don't think I've ever met a more humble young man in my entire life. And I'm 58, so that's a lot of years. He stayed for the entire kids race and handed out medals to every single kid that crossed that line. The day before, he was going to run a pretty tough race against a darn tough field, and spent the time out there to do it. He said, I promised I'd be here. I came. After Cozumel and taking the world record in Cozumel at 7:20 and change, I think.
7:21.
7:21
and change.
Which was amazing. Then, let's talk about Matt Hansen for a minute. Matt's got a bunch of team folks here. He'll be here for them. He'll help at the line, putting on medals onto the age group athletes. You saw a bunch of the pros down on the line passing out medals yesterday. They're fantastic people. Let's talk about Starkey. Last year in Miami, I guess this year in Miami, sorry.
Yes.
Seems like last year. Starkey stayed with Laura Siddall, until the last person was coming down at 8 hours and 38 minutes and went down and ran that woman down the carpet for 600 feet, ran in with her. And the entire staff was out, made an arch out of their hands. Just an amazing guy. Rudy was as gracious as ever. Such a sweet kid. You look at that podium and you say to yourself, these are nice people. Yeah. That's the thing I love about this sport. And when the Toyota executives came in, we put them on the line to hand out medals with us. And their comment was, these people are amazing. As they watched athletes who had been across the line, received their medal, move down into the fan zone area to cheer on athletes they didn't even know. So how lucky are we about our sport and our community?
It is. All of the athletes are so humble and they're so appreciative, which I don't think you get in every sport. And the athletes are truly there because they know the sport is going to grow in the recognition when getting people into the sport for the first time, whether it be running a 5K, whether it be running a 10K, whatever it be, and then challenging themselves to do that. But yes, for all these pros to give their time, standing on their feet for hours and hours and hours before they are about to go to war the next morning or next afternoon.
It's a pretty good feeling, right?
It is. And I don't know how they do it. I've been walking around this place and my legs are tired and I didn't really feel it as long as they did.
It's a big facility. You start walking the facility, you're like, I can
880 acres. I think the best part about it is you don't have to walk very far to get to transition. You don't have to walk very far to get to the lake. You don't have to walk very far to get down to the finish line. The Jumbotron's up so you can sit anywhere you want in the fan zone and see what's happening on the back of the course so you don't lose your family member at any time. And those are the things we pride ourselves on. I remember parking and having to take my bike forever, and I don't want to do that again. So I do want to mention Magnus Ditlev because I didn't. Magnus is a super sweet guy. And we had all the pros sign sponsorship gifts. And he was the first one to jump in and start signing away. So I wanted to make sure I gave him a little love too.
Yeah, and again, as you just alluded to, even though the speedway is enormous there, the viewing and sight lines are great. I mean, you can walk right over. There's viewing areas all along the Lake Lloyd where you can watch your athlete out there. And then immediately, you probably only have to walk a couple hundred feet to watch them come out of transition and to see them actually get out onto the track, which is so much fun, especially for the sprint. Doing the 5 loops, even though it was a little chaotic at certain points.
Oh, it was chaotic. It was chaotic. The pass on the right. I think some folks didn't hear that on the briefing. I will tell you, the funniest part for me was hearing some folks on a disc. I mean, I was having a great ride, but there were some folks going by me on it. All I heard was and they went by me, and it worked. I mean, to be fair, there's 2 super highway width lanes down on the flat part of the track, and if you had to go up a couple feet, it's easy to do to get around everybody. And once you get to the turns and to the back, you're back to 8 lanes. So it got a little chaotic. Some folks didn't pay attention to the stay to the left, pass to the right. So I think we're going to put big signs out next year.
Signage.
We'll do the NASCAR thing. The NASCAR thing where they've got the flag that says
flags.
Right? Exactly. There was one point I think I was probably about a quarter or a third way up one of the turns, and I'm looking down and I'm like, I don't even think my full tire is sitting on the dirt on the ground right now. I'm like, all I picture is myself sliding down and wiping out, and probably taking out about 20 people. But it's such a fast course. I mean, doing the 5 loops there. I mean, obviously everybody loves to see speed and they want to do that. Yes, they got it. But yes, you're right. There were some Uber bikers out there in the age group. I mean, I got passed by so many people that, and it's one of the things you can hear them coming. So you turn around, you look down, and you're like, I think I'm biking pretty well. And then all of a sudden, you see these people just flying by. It is amazing the age group athletes that, are putting in the time to be as fast as they are out there.
It's funny. There's Rach McBride. Hi, Rach.
Hi.
Come say hi. Rach McBride had a fantastic rest. Missed the $1,000 T1 by 1 second.
Oh
One
my
second.
God.
It's a very expensive
That hurt.
second.
No.
That hurt a little, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did. It hurt a lot.
You good?
Yeah,
Are you
fantastic.
going to stay to put medals on any of the folks crossing?
So I've got a friend coming across the line.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So that would be amazing. Yeah. And everybody else, I'd totally be out there.
We're excited.
Yeah. Awesome.
I'm still sad you missed that by a second.
So, you're telling me.
That's how to see it.
You spend time up here with Bob.
I
have
did.
it.
Yeah. I had a great chat with Bob.
Yeah.
He's such a legend in our sport, just like doing incredible things for our sport and, the Challenged Athlete Foundation, like just an incredible human.
Amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just great people.
Yeah. He's gold.
You want to talk for a second about what happened when you crossed?
Yeah. I know. I was trying making some good TV there. This apparently didn't make it onto TV, but yeah, I crossed the finish line and I gave Sid a hug who was waiting there at the finish, and then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to throw up. And thankfully there was a barrier that just, went onto the track, and I puked my guts out on the track.
What did I say to you right after?
Thank goodness I didn't need to hold your hair.
You planned ahead for that.
I did. Yeah, I did.
Planning.
That was a first. I've never thrown up at the only time I've ever thrown up at a finish line is after a beer mile. So this
You
was.
said that too.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty entertaining.
Well, we have to ask.
It was not a little bit either.
What's the beer mile time? We need to know that.
Oh, I haven't done one in a long time. I think I could be faster now. But it was 6:48.
Ooh, that's so impressive. So what's the beer of choice on the beer mile?
You know what? In the U.S.,
Careful now. Remember we're a Budweiser.
It's Budweiser.
an unnamed brand.
You gotta love that sponsorship appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? Budweiser is a beer of choice for so many beer miles.
You'll love that.
Yeah.
That was perfect. That was perfect. That was scripted.
So this is, and I should have told you, but this is Dan Gets Rich, which when you first hear it, you're thinking, okay, rich money. Then you meet him. Then you meet him, you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. He's Dan, I'm rich. Neither one of us is rich. Especially not Dan.
Definitely not. No, Rich is the one that lives out at the beach. So. No, we Bill again, and we want to talk to Rachel because we'd love to. So I don't know if you guys both want to stay, but Rachel, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the race, how it transpired, what your thoughts were going into the race, what your tactics were. Because anytime you get one of these hybrid races, obviously it's a little bit different when it's not a traditional distance. So obviously you play to your strengths. Kind of take us through what your game plan was going into the race, and then how it was executed during the race.
Sure. I knew coming into this race and having experienced it before, it's a beast in and of itself. It is something that is totally unique to the rest of to any other race I've ever done. And I learned a whole lot last year. And came into it, I think, a lot more prepared and with a lot better understanding of what exactly it entailed to be able to race this well. And so I knew I was in a lot better shape than last year and was just ready to give it my all.
Great swim.
Yeah, great swim. I knew, Kessler and I usually swim together. And so I knew I was in exactly the place I needed to be coming out of the water. Tried to get that T1 split. I had been thinking about it in my mind for so long. And, in retrospect now, I'm like, oh, I know where those that 1 second.
That was $1,000, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I know. We just discussed that.
Yeah. And so, had a great transition. And on the bike, I just put my head down and knew I needed to stay as aero as possible. I just needed to keep the hurt on for the, just under 2 hours that I knew it was going to be. The winds were pretty variable. It was light to start off with and then picked up. And so, you can really use that to your advantage.
You switched directions, had you guys?
A little bit. Yeah, it totally did. And so I was just stoked to keep moving up in places and to finally get myself into third place coming off the bike. And, I had a little moment of falter around laps 15, 16, 17. And then the guys started coming around and I don't know what happened in my head, but all of a sudden I was I just suddenly felt amazing. And I'm okay, this run is going to be great. I haven't totally trashed myself. I know I'm going to feel good coming off the bike. Took me about a K to just uncurl a little bit from that position, that TT position. And I just felt super solid.
Great equalizer.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt super solid on the run the whole time. I just had a moment, and it just happened to be right in front of the crowd where I got a terrible stomach cramp and had to walk a little bit. I had to stop and bend over and try and figure out what was going on. And then it was just so painful. I'm just I just need to keep moving forward. I started running again, and thankfully within a couple of minutes it went away and I was able to negative split my last 2 laps. And I knew Indy was in front of me. I could see her, and I was thankful to have her as a bunny rabbit to catch up. And then Anna Reisman was so close in front of me, and I pushed so hard on that last lap. And that was what's really cool about this course is you can't hide. You cannot hide. Everybody is in your sights. And so even if someone looks, so far ahead, that if you are just running that little bit faster, you just are patient and you can catch up to them. And unfortunately, that minute of stomach cramping cost me because Anna was 45 seconds ahead of me at the finish. And that was definitely bittersweet, but I knew that last lap I was pushing so hard, and I didn't have anything more in me to give, and obviously crossed the finish line and puked my guts out. So I gave it my all. And you know, that's just what I do. I race from the gun in these races, especially when it's so short. That's always my strategy. I know approximately where I need to be in different areas, but and who, you know, has different strengths and weaknesses. But I know I just need to like gut it out and go as hard as I can and see where I end up.
Well, you are for sure one of the fan favorites out there. I know Sky chose you to win the race yesterday. So I think she saw you and she was like, good luck tomorrow. And you're like, you mean today?
Oh, that was you.
Days get mixed up.
Got it.
Oops.
The beer garden.
Oops.
I know how that goes. I know how that goes.
So how do the crowds keep you going? Do you know, hey, I know every 2 miles I'm going to have a half mile of crowd.
You know,
that's really gonna get
I'd
you
like to
going.
ask a question because we are struggling with this.
Yeah.
And that was, did the men add energy to your race when they went by you, or was it the other way around?
I think obviously on the bike, it did wonders for me. That was really cool. On the run, it was definitely like less lonely, especially out on the backside of the loop. There were a couple people who were coming pretty close to us when they passed, and yeah, so that was like felt a little bit sketchy.
Yeah.
But I knew that, you know, I was hoping people were going to keep their heads up and
Yeah.
not run into us. But I think everything was fine. But it was nice to have like some folks out there on the backside of the course kind of going around.
We're wrestling with that. We talked about what we're going to do to get better. And the women always start our races. And when you have that energy in that field, it was pretty spectacular. And people say, why do we start that group first? And my answer is because my mother would turn over in her grave if it wasn't that way. And I grew in a household of very strong folks, and it's true. But I also think, and the NBC folks have asked us, the NASCAR production folks have asked us, we've got the time, do we do one race and then the other? But what we've heard from a lot of the pros is the loss in energy. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we're going to do on our pro follow-up calls, and Rachel will tell you, we get them on the phone and start having really hard discussions.
Yeah.
And we will address that.
Yeah. No, it's very true. You know, if I think about from last year, it was like the last 2 loops of the run course were like pretty lonely, and having just some extra bodies out there and people flying by was kind of inspiring. So I think if we just, you know, now that we know how the bikes are going to be going around with the runners, just to like let them know to give us a little bit more space when passing. That was the only concern that I had, was like some guys were coming like quite close, like really buzzing us.
Which is different from Miami because the road course, which is really technical, and the outside loop is held for the running.
Yeah.
So the Glen will be more like this, but it's also super, super wide.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will ask those questions to the pros.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even like you mentioned, when you go around, I think it's turn 1 and turn 2 out there, where you have the bike, people are trying to cut it in a little bit closer, and there's not as much room to run. I mean, it could get a little bit, maybe a barricade there, or just to keep them a little bit separate.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about putting cones or barricades out there, because that to me is just like a bit dangerous for the cyclists. I think that, I think that it's wide enough out there that people can just pay attention. I don't know if cones or barricades are actually a good idea. I thought about that, and I was like, even, having the aid station where it was the bike aid station out there, folks were like coming in, and like if you didn't have your head up, you would have run right into the aid station.
She missed the bottle. Missed hydration.
There were lots of missed bottles.
Yeah.
Because it just so happened that we had a tailwind on that section, and so we were going really fast. Yeah. So you really had to slow down to actually get a bottle, which is like not a lot of people are gonna slow down. And I know that I went through once and didn't get a bottle. The second time I tried for a bottle, I actually got one, but it was like the last person, and they all cheered when I got the bottle. So it sounded like, yeah, we got one.
Dan, ask her if she opened a Coke on the bike or on the run. This is pretty entertaining from Laura.
Did you open the Coke on the bike on the run?
No.
No.
I didn't take a Coke. I saw that some of them were open, but yeah, I just didn't even think about it. I was like, I don't want to open a Coke.
Because once you do Coke, you need to stay with Coke, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Sid opened one up, and we clearly wrestle with, and they've got gloves on, they've got face masks on, but we're pretty protective. Sid opened it up, and it blew up on her.
Yeah. Just to melt the sun there. Yeah, absolutely.
Twice.
Yeah. It's a little extra challenge in the race.
Well, you have, Rach, you have 2 master's degrees. Tell people what those are about, and does that help you in training?
She's a rocket scientist.
I have 2 graduate degrees in genetics that I'm doing absolutely nothing with right now. What it allows me to do is if there's sports science that I need to understand, like physiology, I have that background and I can understand that. And like a lot of these companies now that are coming out with new technologies that really are about, like Whoop, like Inside Tracker, like all of these things where you are learning more about what's actually happening inside your body. I feel like I have a better understanding of that, and I can read the scientific literature and understand it. So that's a bonus, but otherwise, and doing grad school, you have to have a good work ethic. You have to get through it. So you have to have that for training and racing too.
Was there anything that surprised you out there that you go through mentally preparing yourself? Was there anything that you were like, wow, I never would have thought that would happen during this race?
Well, to be honest, for me, how amazing I felt out there. I don't remember the last race where, it's been years since I felt so good out on a course to the very end. That to me was huge and a really amazing way to finish this year that has been I've consistently had really challenging races that haven't gone well. So that to me was the biggest hooray and surprise.
Does that springboard you into next year wanting to sign up for maybe some earlier races that you typically want to do, or are you sticking with your schedule that you have planned out for 2022?
Oh, heck yeah. Knowing that, I've got Miami in March, my sights had been on world champs at St. George, and now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. There are these other races going on that'll be our perfect timing. Prior to that race, and if I could take this fitness into and building up even more into those races, absolutely, I'm there. And of course, anything Bill's doing, I'm gonna do it.
Team Bill
all the way.
It's not a bad team to be on.
So any things that you like to do in the off season? Obviously, I think this is probably your last race of the year. I think it's probably the last race in all of North America. What are you going to do in your off season? I know obviously you're going to continue training since you're at the fitness level that you are. Is there anything that you're going to miss or not indulge over the holidays that you typically would, or is there?
No way, man. The holidays are all about indulgence. Yeah, I was so grateful to have some beer last night.
There's a little of that going on.
Yeah, it was the
Budweiser, of course, right?
Yes, of course, yeah. December for me is pretty chill. I'm going to really enjoy a couple weeks with my family over the holidays, and then it's back to work in January. So not much of a downtime at this time of year. So it'll be a December of indulgence, which really is just allowing myself to be lazy. Which I can be really good at, and having a couple more beers than usual.
If you have never seen Rachel's workouts on her social media, you need to see it. it's frankly just scary. She does this back exercise where she holds a 45-pound plate and she does a twisting, dipping motion. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I think I'd die.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So her workouts are amazing. And I really encourage people to go see that because the variability does not allow your body to get used to anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I really spend a lot of time throughout the year. I have an incredible strength and mobility coach that I work with at a place called Restore Human in Vancouver. And we do things that are totally outside the box in terms of like traditional strength stuff, but it really creates like, I am creating a healthy and strong body for when I am like 60 and 70 and 80, not just now as an athlete. And so I think it's done wonders for myself and this time in my career.
What's something that you would tell an age group or an average athlete, a triathlete, to go out there and actually spend time doing? Because I guarantee
that's me and you, brother. You know that.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I don't stretch at all, so I'm probably the most inflexible person you'll ever meet. So yes, I always say I'm going to stretch more before, and then I never do. So what's one thing out there that you would recommend to people that they spend some time doing?
Did you get into the Wahoo room before? Stretch out the Wahoo room and get on the trainers and stuff.
Oh yeah. I did my pre-race ride on the trainer yesterday or Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing to have that there. Like, I talked to those Wahoo guys, just so grateful for those.
They do a nice job.
They do really
setting up our green room for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really fantastic. I mean, the biggest thing that I have learned is joint health and like basically creating strong joints through doing things called pails, rails, or cars. It's basically like you don't need anything. It's just your body, and it's just like joint circles and movements under tension, and it just creates incredible resiliency in those joints, because we know like those are kind of some of the first things to go, especially for people who are spending a lot of time on their feet and running. Your knees, your hips, your shoulders from swimming. That is keeping me super resilient, and it's something that's like super easy to do. It's super simple. You can do it while you're like watching TV or watching, a show or whatever. Or just like hanging out, cooking in the kitchen.
That's great. What about your schedule for next year? Besides, obviously, Clash Miami, and you said there was going to be obviously St. George after that. Are there other races that you're focused on next year?
Well, I mean, for sure, all of the Clash series is on my radar for sure. And then other than that, past St. George, I haven't really thought about it. Yeah.
There you go.
To be honest.
I love it. You meet some people, like Starboy's like this. He's so regimented in everything that he does. He's like, I got to do this and this and this and this. I love the free spirit. And hey, if I'm ready to go, I'll go.
Well, I mean, I think what I'm really excited about in the next couple of years is what I'm doing right now is just like bucket list things. It's like the things where my heart is in. I'm not chasing like points. I'm not chasing money. I'm chasing experiences, and I'm chasing those courses that I really want to do and those race organizations that I have a real connection with. And so to me, that is like that's what makes me happy in my racing. And so I'm going to sit in January and start to plan things out and just think about, okay, what's on my bucket list? What have I not hit yet? Where can I go now in the new post-pandemic world, and see what strikes my fancy, because that's what you have to do. What you love, you have to do what brings you joy, and life is too short to be racing for what I would say the wrong reasons.
I love the term chase experiences. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah. I think you get to a point where you're chasing money, if for anything, for whether you're triathlon, whatever you're doing, whether you're chasing money, chasing a promotion, chasing another job, chase experiences.
Yeah.
You need a shirt.
Yeah. Chase experiences.
So besides the Clash races, what's your favorite race venue that you've or competed at?
That's not fair because she hasn't raced the Glen yet. And the Glen's this year. And the Glen,
I said besides Clash.
Oh, okay. My bad.
There's other
My
races.
My bad.
Yeah. What? There's other
At Tampa
Right?
place.
I mean, my favorite races are usually like the iconic or the really tough courses. So, you know, Bob Babbitt and I were talking about Wildflower when that was on. You know, that is definitely one of in the podium of my top favorite races. I love racing in New Zealand, so Challenge Wanaka is an absolutely incredible race.
I'm going to do that not this year, but the
Are
following
you?
year. Oh, I've heard Meredith said you got to go.
You gotta go. You gotta go. It's beautiful. I would move to Wanaka in a second. New Zealand is amazing. That place is amazing, and the course is really wonderful. Yeah, I really wish it was a full distance again because that. I mean, it's a tough course as a half. It's even tougher as a full. Yeah, those are really my biggest things. And then Challenge Roth is just like from the course to the organization to the family who runs it, that and to the crowds who are out there. It's an incredible race. I've raced there twice. I'll race there again. I love it.
I've never been to Challenge Roth. Obviously, I've seen the pictures there, and I'm like that. You know, doing the iconic climbs up there where you just have spectators.
Solar Hill.
Yeah.
Solar Hill, yeah.
Yeah.
And they're beating you with those foam, right? Go faster.
It's quite the experience.
I'm going as fast as I can. I can't climb this hill.
Stop hitting me.
But it's really, I mean, that's such a unique. I mean, it's more like the Tour de France that you're climbing up the experience kind of.
Totally, yeah. You would never ever get that experience in any other race that I know of like actually feeling like you are in one of those like tour stages on a climb.
Mm-hmm. Is there any other race venue that has something that you're like, man, I really loved that aspect of whatever race it was, whether it was, you know, spectators, whether it was a certain climb, whether it was a hard run or, you know, whatever it may be?
There have definitely been certain courses that I've really enjoyed. ITU Worlds in 2014, I think or 2013 was in France, and we actually went up a climb that had been featured in the Tour de France at some point, and that was an incredible experience. And the descent, the very technical descent. Yeah, I mean, otherwise, that's the only one I can think of off the top.
Ask her that question in December next year.
Oh yeah.
The Jack Daniels climb is brutal in Watkins Glen.
Oh, I can't wait.
How long is that? Give us a little insight into that hill.
It's 400 in vertical, but it's about a 7 to 9 degree angle. So you're out of your seat going hard, and the topography of that course in general is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's brutal. You definitely want some extra gears for that one.
What is
How many
Starkey?
times do you go up that?
11.
Starkey said I had to buy a new cassette for my bike.
That's pretty unique. Yeah.
There's this one race up in Maryland that's called Savage Man, and they have like a 30% grade climb, and you get a brick in the street if you actually make it up without getting off your bike. I've always wanted to do it, but I was like, I can get up.
No thanks. No thanks.
No brick for you. No brick.
What about any post-race food, Rachel? After you race, is there something that you crave when you get off the race course?
I always crave ice cream. I have yet to have ice cream, but yeah, it's one thing that I'm not really able to eat normally. I stay away from dairy, so I kind of try and hit like all the cheese and ice cream that I can.
Sounds like something you can have next to the beer garden there, Bill.
We'll work on that.
There's ice cream somewhere
there. There wasn't cheese or anything like that up in the VIP.
No, I mean there was like a little bit of cheese on the sandwiches. Yeah.
That was it.
No cheese plate.
Fried chicken though.
Fried chicken.
I saw
barbecue and fried chicken. Is
it was pulled pork, pulled chicken, and there was some barbecue chicken in there too.
I love. Because a couple of years ago the race venue was under the lights. Is that something you'd like to see again, or?
Oh,
Oh,
man,
here
that
we
would
are.
be
We're
so
back to the
cool.
lights. He's
Yeah,
That would be so cool. I know. I was so bummed last year when we weren't actually racing at night. I thought that would be so cool, especially because the sun goes down so early here. It wouldn't be that late. I think that'd be amazing.
We are negotiating with these two right now. They started this whole conversation with, "Hey, it'd be great if and to be totally technical with that, we are the only people who hit the power grid in December. So flipping the light switch on here is a big deal. But the biggest part of the deal is that part of the run course. So we're gonna look at it. They want to do it for the age groupers and not the pros.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be a pretty awesome draw.
Yeah,
I would
fun,
say.
right?
Yeah.
We're thinking about it, guys. I promise.
We're not going to put you on the spot, Bill. But
Wow.
we're going to have you on.
Exactly.
No, I know. We just, we talked about how great this experience is out there. What, as far as the swim, for people that don't know swimming in Lake Lloyd, people always say there's a lake in the middle of the speedway, like it's got to be full of oil and everything. I'm like, no, it's actually pretty clean out there. And I think I drank a bunch of water yesterday and I came out okay. So you just want to talk about kind of how that goes as far as the pro race?
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's definitely a really exciting swim because you have just those two loops. You've got the Australian exit. Like, it's really exciting. It goes by relatively quickly, depending on the winds. So, that's the thing is like we had a pretty calm day yesterday, but the day before it was a little bit windier, and you can get some chop coming in one direction. And so, it's a bit of a wake-up call when you turn the buoy. So I love swimming in the lake. And people were like, oh, it's so cold. But, in the middle of the day, it was refreshing to get in and swim. And I prefer a little bit colder water anyway, so.
Is there a distance that you would like to see this? Do you love this?
Oh, here we go.
I gotta ask.
Here we go.
As far as the pros go, I mean, is there something? Would you prefer seeing a longer bike? Because you are such a great cyclist, or would you like to see a longer run? Kind of what would be?
I thought you were going to the full distance question.
No.
I thought he was going.
Personally, I love this hybrid distance because you can get your shorter distance athletes and your long distance athletes together to compete against each other in what would be a pretty similar format for them, and they can go, all out basically that whole time. I'm just curious if you would like to see it, whether it be a little shorter, a little longer.
You know what? That's true. I was thinking about what I want to see, because it's almost like twice Olympic distance or standard distance race, except the swim is a kilometer short. So it's like, would I want to see it as a 3K swim, like doing 3 loops on the swim, but then that might give the ITU folks an advantage because they're like incredible swimmers. So maybe I don't want to see that. That would be the only thing, for me in my brain, I was like, okay, 3K, 80K, 20K. Can we somehow add another 2K onto the run? But to be honest, I love the 18K run. The swim goes by like nothing, and it just makes sense for the 80K. I don't know if I would change it, to be honest. Yeah.
You guys named it the Daytona distance. Oh yeah, that's the story in itself. But the pros named it.
Yeah, I think it's an incredible equalizer. As we see, see that the ITU and the long distance athletes can really battle it out there.
So what are the distances? Can you give us the distances of the other races you're going to have there, Bill?
They'll all be 100K for the pro component. That is the Daytona distance, 100K. Okay. So regardless of what facility, but I will tell you this. I told Andre it's a white sheet of paper for the age groups. Example, Watkins Glen, Andre said, I'd come up with a 50-mile course, and it was, a fantastic course. And I had to try and jam 6 miles more in there, and it was brutal. And I said, hey, if you got to take what the safety is going to give you. So Watkins Glen's 50 miles, and we've heard some people say, well, it's not 56. And Starkowitz comes on and he says, trust me, you're going to be glad it's only 50. So we're gonna take what it can give us. The pros will stay at 100 or thereabouts, and each different venue is going to present its own challenges. Miami was a very technical course. The Glen is a heck of a climb, and then inside it's tough, but that's our formula today.
I love it. And we bring up the distance because this weekend, and part of our stellar endurance team that we have, Sam Crozier, who's racing the middle distance today, he's actually, he just became the Guinness Book World Record holder for most 70.3s in a 12.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he's out there racing today.
He is.
37th half.
That's right.
This year so far. So it's.
He thanked me. He was one of the last two in the water.
Yeah.
He's going to have a great race. We loved having him. I met him through a mutual friend, which is kind of special, but we're excited that he's going for the Guinness record.
Yeah, it's. I think he had a total. Sky's actually coaching him. I think he had a total of 40, 43, 54. 54.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing like doubles on the weekends.
Who does it?
Is there something crazy you'd like to do, Rachel?
Oh my goodness, so many crazy things I love to do. I'm one of these people that I hear these stories about people like ultra trail runners or like ultra distance athletes who are like hallucinating in their races, and I'm like, I want to do that.
One race hallucination.
Yes.
It's cheap.
I'm too much of a wimp. I'm like, I'm out as soon as I hurt.
I didn't hear Running with the Bulls on that deal.
No, that's ridiculous.
Careful, I did that.
Did you do that?
Oh, yeah.
That sounds terrible.
It was my children told me that I needed to de-risk my profile, and I didn't really understand that. Said, what exactly does that mean? They said, Dad, grow up.
Just don't be last, Bill. Just don't be last, right?
You don't want to be first. If you're first, they throw food at you. If you're last, it's just as bad. They throw more food at you. They do. It's brutal.
Plus, you get the horns.
That's good stuff.
Oh, man.
So what? So how far would you need to run to race to be?
I don't know. I haven't found it yet.
Why would you want to hallucinate?
I just think, one of the reasons why I am an athlete is because I love pushing my body and my mind beyond what I think is capable and like breaking those boundaries. And to me, that would just be like a next level of like, I have pushed myself so far that I am hallucinating. I just hope I don't hallucinate something really scary. I hope I hallucinate something that's like fun. But that's my goal. Those are the things that I want to do. Is I want to constantly push myself. I want to race in places that are really interesting, on courses that are really interesting, and just see how far I can go.
It's really interesting. And Rich and I have talked about this on multiple times. Do you think we're getting to the point that the human physically cannot do more than where they are now? Like in the Olympics, how much faster do you think they go? In triathlon, how much faster do you think you could go? Or do you think we're pretty close to the upper echelon of what the human body can do?
I don't know. I think that there are people who are obviously doing some science on this and calculations and know way better than I do. I think that we are infinitely capable of like continuing to improve. It's just like the delta at which we are able to improve keeps getting smaller and smaller. And then I think what the next step is going to be is like different technologies that make our bodies faster somehow. And it's going to be interesting to see like what does that look like? At what point is a person still like human or still like quote unquote natural, in order to push themselves and like get faster and faster, and stronger and stronger. I think it's a fascinating place to be. I think that we as humans have we obviously have the intelligence and the ability to keep creating, to basically, boost ourselves higher and higher. So I think it's a fascinating place to be.
So do you ever think, so you don't think there's ever going to be a ceiling? You think evolutionary will just be able to continue to incrementally get a little bit better?
Yeah, I do.
What's one piece of technology that you'd like to see or that you have now that has kind of pushed you?
What technology don't you have?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think I read a fascinating book called The Singularity is Near, by Ray Kurzweil, and he talks about these nanobots. They're like respiratory nanobots that basically will be like, that someone has a patent for them. They haven't created them yet, but it's like little nanobots that will be able to like metabolize CO2 and oxygen in your blood and basically be able to like provide more oxygen to your muscles in order to work harder. So it means, we could be like, free diving or like basically like breathing underwater with these nanobot technologies. Right?
Now I got to work the NASCAR research group on, nanobot doping.
Yes, exactly.
How do you test for that, right? How do you test for that?
I have no idea. They're working right now on shooting lasers through the hub and through the crank for density, because we know the magnets and the magnet testing doesn't really work. So they're as a gracious favor to us and a kind of a fun project for them. They're going to start shooting lasers through it for density, and they're trying to figure that out.
Real quick, we know the people over in Tampa just signed, and I think Tony Dodge was on board with doing the front and back for as far as drafting goes. Is that something that you guys are looking at doing as far as cutting down on, not so much in pro race, but in age group racing?
So, first of that is we believe in the 20-meter rule. I will say that Miami was much more of a draft fest than we had anticipated. There were probably quite a few Pelotons going on out there. We're getting much more aggressive this year. We had about 100 folks that got dinged last year. We probably should have had twice that many, but we will card you and tent you this year. So go ahead, Peloton. Good luck with that.
Well, good. I know a lot of people were frustrated that I heard locally that went down there and raced, and when you're doing your own work and you get passed by a group of 20 people, and sometimes it's a little bit demoralizing.
It's kind of like Cozumel. I think two things. One, they gave us the entire highway, so we've got the entire bridge to ride out through the mangroves and through the water to Key Largo, and I think that's going to make a difference because that's going to give us more room. And that'll give us more opportunities to hold people accountable.
If I was on that bike, I'd keep going south. You go to Key Largo, you're going to the Keys, baby. I turn around, we're coming back, keep going. Hey, Bill, I know you got to go. I know you've got a lot going on, apparently. I don't know what. But I just want to thank you, really. We've had 100 episodes you've been on before. Thank you for coming on. Rachel, thank you for being here. We really
How lucky are we my bud Rach showed up?
Hey, one quick question. I know coming up to, obviously with, Christian and Nicole and I think Brownlee, sub-7, sub-8 project. Do you guys, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think it's fair to say that we're the fastest course in the world. But we're just going to leave it at that.
Fair enough.
Was that a total dodge or what?
I mean, I think it's exciting. I think it's like the Breaking Two, right? Mm-hmm. You put your money on the top athletes in the world who it's potentially capable for, and you make it happen. And like what happened with Kipchoge, it changes the game of now he understands it's possible to run a sub-2. It's going to happen. We're going to get there. But
It eliminates the mental paradigm.
Exactly.
That's it. That
And we
mental
know
paradigm.
that every time a record is broken, you look at the marathon record is broken, the next year, 10 people go within that time.
And I do think it's mental. As we all know, the marathon was tweaked, we'll call it that, for optimal performance, and the sub 7, sub 8 project is going to be the same way.
Yeah.
But I agree with Rach. It's going to be a big mental. And look at Christian, ran a 7:21, so he's not far from being there without the tricks and fancy.
There's no doubt. It just, we look at it and we're like, as triathletes, you guys run. Obviously you're biking so fast, but even the running, I mean, you're not far off Olympic times.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
So, but again, as Rich alluded to, yes, thank you guys so much for your time. I know you guys, Bill, you're probably going to go out there and hand out some medals.
Going to the line, yep. And I know Rach is too.
I'm going too.
We're going down.
I got folks to cheer for.
That's
tonight,
right.
So
You got to go.
yeah.
I know. I don't want to keep you, as I see some people starting to cross the finish line and run around there. So,
Well, I got to tell you guys, it's always a pleasure being here, and to have my bud Rach here with us was pretty special. So thanks.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yep. Rach,
Thank
you so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming
Absolutely.
up, and we really enjoyed watching you race yesterday.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we're going to stay on and get Sky on here for a few minutes if you want.
That was fun, guys. Thank you. Good trip. I was going to get hammered by it.
Thanks so
Hey, we'll see you down there.
Look forward to seeing you again. Yeah, I was going to say.
My jacket. I'm gonna go home and work. I'm gonna look at the Pales rails. My joints, man. I got it written down. Look it up. Yeah, start working on it.
Who just doing that and the flagpole where you
Yeah. You got that though, don't you? No. I can do it if I brace myself like that.
Oh yeah.
Not straight like a flag. No.
Yeah.
No.
Or the what is it? Nordic curls, the hamstring ones where you're basically you can put your feet on something and then you go all the way flat and then all the way back just on your hamstring.
I'm gonna work on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did not
Well, if you learn how much you can actually cramp your hamstrings and keep going or just stay on that edge, you learn the limits of your body. It's super fun.
I know. I think you like Pete more than I do.
Yeah, way more. I looked up right when we were sitting here some of the pictures of you. I was like, oh man, that chick's ripped. Moving. Oh geez. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
What's the farthest you run? Straight.
I haven't run further than a marathon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering, so I only run one ultra. It was a 50, and I saw a talking dog. There was no dogs on the course. So I done it.
Yes,
It was pretty fun. Yeah, it was dark outside though too. So, but definitely I saw a dog and it was talking, and I was like, that's weird.
You come to my house, we'll get into the edibles. It's a lot easier. He's talking to my backyard all the time.
So much fun.
Do it.
Yes.
I'm so
All right.
Nice
Take care,
to
Rich.
see you.
All right, take care.
Just that stuff, right?
No, it's amazing.
Hey Dan, did we get on the Facebook Live? Did we neglect that?
No,
in
we
the
did, but
chaos.
when you miss it by 10 minutes, it doesn't go live. So
Oh.
I'll post the thing just so you guys know we're still on. So
Yeah, we are. So anything.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't make any edits. So
Can you cut out the edible part?
No.
Okay.
I
I eat edibles sometimes. Just leave me alone.
so does my dad. My dad was like, "Hey, you want some brownies?"
I actually don't. I just try to be funny. I actually, yes, I do. Who am I kidding?
Well, anyway, Guy, thank you so much for being on the 100th episode, because I know we had some of our viewers that wanted you to be on, and Rich wanted you to be on our.
I wanted you to be on.
You weren't the only one.
No, only me. It was only me.
It was only
Wasn't you,
Rich.
Dan?
It was
Wasn't
only
you?
Rich. We have no
Me.
cachet. You bring a lot of cachet to our podcast.
I bring no cachet, but I will say a lot of my athletes are out on the run course, so we got to be quick. But I have a lot to say quickly.
Boom, take it away. Go.
Well, mainly I just wanted to say now you guys get why Rach has been my favorite of all time since ever. Pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
she's
is
pretty badass.
so much fun. I loved having her on, and I look forward to having her on again.
Rach is very, very cool. Oh, here comes Chris Courtney. See him trotting down in the old Stellar kit? Sorry, listeners. One of my athletes, Chris Courtney, is making his way around the track right now for an epic photo that I've been watching for him.
I think see if you can turn your camera down a little bit on your, so it's not showing all of your pretty face. Maybe it's showing some, I guess we're getting.
There he is. Look at him. He's yelling at his family. I don't know if it's not, you're not going to be able to see it, but he's got his whole family out here. They've all participated. And that's one of the greatest things about this weekend so far has been seeing the families participate in all the different events. But I think the highlight for me was yesterday watching Rennie with her little toddler who was having an absolute meltdown. Didn't want mommy out of her sight. And poor Rennie was having to jump over barricades and having kids passed over. It was just amazing to see her in mommy mode, and gave you a whole new respect. Well, validated, because we've all been there as mamas with crying babies and trying to race and do your thing at the same time. So that was really cool to see that even the pros have the obstacles of whiny toddlers. But that was a great moment for me, and she handled it like
whiny toddlers are the great equalizer. They affect everybody, whether you're ultra, uber athlete or just an age grouper. The whiny toddler is going to bring you down.
And we know Sky's a big fan of Rennie and Tim, so we just that started. What was that? That started about 6 years ago, where you were the big
definitely. Yes, I freaked out on her, and she beelined the other way. Unlike Rach, who is always gracious, even when I yell, "Good luck tomorrow," and it's not tomorrow, it's actually today. She corrected me quick and laughed and moved on.
We're giving you the soapbox, so step on up and talk about what.
Oh no, that was kind of it. It's a really great venue for. We're staying in an RV, like you said earlier. Epic.
How was the RV experience here? How was that? I know you guys came down on Friday.
You haven't done the RV experience, totally worth it. It's unbelievable. Basically at night you have free reign of the Daytona Speedway. I mean, we're walking out on the track at like 11 o'clock at night. I don't know if we should be saying that on air, but yeah, I mean, we just walked up and down the track. And
I neglected to tell Bill Christie that I got engaged to my beautiful wife right there, right behind Sky, right there in that grass.
You did the first time you did. You mentioned.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, it was right over his shoulder when I was looking at him, right in that grass right there. That was pretty cool. So it's a good experience. The RV situation. Did you guys rent a camper and they brought it here? Or did you go pick it up, or
we drove it down from Jacksonville.
Did you?
Yeah. So we did. Yeah, we did it on RV.
It's a drivable one. It's not a pull behind. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And it's. Straight shot down 95. So
did you drive? Did you drive?
I did.
Did you have any troubles with the size?
No, obviously
backing it in, pulling in, or anything.
No. Although I probably got a little pissy at Sky one time because I'm like,
you should apologize for that right now.
It's fine.
Okay.
So you know when you're backing up she's on the left hand side of my mirror, but I needed her on the right because I couldn't see anything on the right because I was backing this way, and I'm like, you need to go on the other side.
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
Were the curse words or just race?
No, he actually wasn't as mad as he said he was. He smiled afterwards, so I knew he wasn't like really mad. He just kind of got a little pissy for a minute.
It happens. You're in an unfamiliar circumstances situation right there, probably driving that thing. It's like the boat ramp. You want to see fights for couples? Go to a boat ramp. Sunday afternoon. Oh boy, you know, be a divorce lawyer down there handing out cards. People are yelling and screaming at each other.
You know what? The one thing that we did notice at this race, and again, Sky has a lot of people racing, so she can kind of talk about it as a coach. But when you come out of transition, I posted a video of 7 minutes of Daytona last year, and we went down there today watching athletes go out. And you come out of the chute, and there is literally a white line that says mount area. People, I think that you can't pass that line until you're on your bike, because it's about, 6 feet wide there.
Mhm.
And people will just stand there, clog up the whole chute. Nobody can get around while they get their bike on, while they try to. And
The mount area is probably 200 yards long, 100 yards long, something like that.
About 20 feet of it is utilized. Everybody just
Yeah, they're
stops right where
when
they are.
get there.
so yesterday, I had to run in between people, kind of snake my way around, ran about 50 feet up, hopped on my bike, and was going before anybody like this. But
you have something that is rare these days.
height.
Common sense. It's uncommon these days.
So, and we laugh because we've had this discussion many times. Unless you practice the mounting your bike with your shoes already clipped in, don't effing do it.
Don't do it on race day.
Don't do it on race day. We saw so many people almost crash into the barricades. We saw one guy wiped out. He rode his bike literally 30 feet, crashed into the barrier, broke his handlebar and shifter, and his race was done.
Oh no.
Because he thought he was trying to get his foot into the chute. Like, unbelievable.
Here's the problem. It's really not even about the rubber bands. It's about people being able to do it without looking down. You can't look at your feet and ride a bike at the same time with people around you.
You go when you're on a bike or a motorcycle, any kind of two-wheeled vehicle. You go where your eyes point. When your eyes are pointing. When your eyes are pointing down, you don't know where to go. You probably crash and probably break your. Yeah.
So eyes up, people. Eyes up.
Eyes up. Eyes up.
Yeah.
And there's people around you that now you're endangering everyone.
You are.
And you're going at 2 miles an hour,
Sure.
so you're not steady. You're snaking through an area that's maybe 10 feet wide.
Yeah.
It's a debacle.
It is. And I didn't mention this to Bill, but I'll probably text him after this and just say, when you come out, it immediately needs to open up, or the mount line needs to be farther back where it's wider. So for the people that want to do that, they can get off on the right-hand side and still allow
It's a little
it.
narrow.
That's a
It's
really
narrow.
good idea, Dan, is to put the mount line up where it's wider rather
Yes.
than right in that
It needs to be.
4 foot wide chute.
Exactly. So, as Scott just kind of talked about it as a coach, as far as your athletes, people who may be newer to the sport, kind of this venue, and I mean, I think it's an absolute a great venue for someone who's doing a first-time triathlon, because you don't have to worry about traffic. You have to worry about other cyclists out there because you're doing 5 loops on the sprint. But I mean, as far as that, people doing the first half or sprint or whatever it may be, just kind of talk about what you think this race venue brings.
It brings something for everybody. You can not swim. You can do the duathlon for the sprint. So if you're brand new and you don't want to swim in freezing cold water, or you've never worn a wetsuit before, they've got a duathlon. And it's a short duathlon for the sprint. And then you've got the option for 70.3 for those that don't want to swim in the late season of their year. They can do the duathlon as well. Plus the fact that there's no cars.
Mm-hmm.
It's helpful. We don't know what's going outside the track right now, but so far it looks like everybody's had good bike times.
Mm-hmm. Wind
is good. It's a gorgeous day. You can't ask for better weather than we've had this weekend.
We're literally, for people to.
We didn't say where we are. We didn't even ever say where we are.
We did. We said,
did we?
well, obviously, you can see the speed, but we are live in Daytona Beach, Florida. It is December 5th, and it is about 75 degrees out. Beautiful skies. No, maybe a couple clouds, but barely any wind at all. Perfect, ideal racing conditions. If you are looking to do a late season race, or you want to extend your nice weather a little bit longer, this is obviously a great venue for it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're in the third floor at the 500 Club at the thank you, Bill Christie.
We are privileged.
Yeah,
And where we are, we can see what's this 180 degrees through the whole track. We can see the back stretch. We see the planes landing in the airport in the back. We see the road course with the runners running through them. So finish lines right behind us. The beer garden back there. Very cool venue.
No, this venue is unbelievable, and the people probably think, oh, you're just, they're not a sponsor. We just like the venue. We like coming here. We like supporting our athletes. I mean, as far as the number of people, you see tons of clubs here. I saw a bunch of clubs from outside our area that drove in, that spent the weekend here as well. So,
and they're all parked in our RV area. You've got Ocala Triathletes, Claremont Tri Club, Slappers. It's like our entire Florida community is all here.
Yeah, I mean, Kennedy Law Racing was out there. I saw, but then you get your national teams. There's Zoot people here. There's base people here. I mean, you see pretty much everything.
Base still has a team.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, I know.
I'm sorry. It was a joke. It was a joke. Get over it. Yeah, it's fantastic venue for a race. I imagine all the teams down there. I know a couple of years ago you had a problem where the team tents were set. Any better? Any worse?
So we decided to not do that anymore. Well, this was part of our reasoning. Yes, last year they were not tents, and people didn't adhere to that. That's kind of annoyed me that people weren't doing that. But this year we decided it's better to do it at the RV because we have our RV. There's an empty space next to us, so we have cornhole boards set up. We got two tents set up. We got tables. We got all the food that you can imagine.
So you're kind of having the team gathering. Where's that located? It's in the RV lot.
Yeah, we are on lot 69.
Okay, what lot?
This is me shaking my head.
Well, don't worry, you're on video, so people can see. It's all good. Yeah. So.
Oh, that was funny. You even text Janine about how funny
I know.
It was. So don't act like you didn't. I think there was a joke for a while. Janine, for a while, every single race number she had had a derivative of 69.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds about right.
It's a magic number.
I'm an 11-year-old humor makes me laugh. So.
Well, congratulations on your 100th, guys.
Well, we appreciate it. It's been a long time coming to Rich. I think it was January of 2019 or 2018 when you said, let's do that. And I said, hell yeah, man, we can do that. Figure out how to do that. And here we are now. We've had some great guests on. I think we've gone through this journey, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. So
absolutely the same, Dan. I really wanted to have Sky on. She was, I think, our first guest. And it was nice to always be able to have her come on and give real facts because we are very, very loose with our
what she did say. I do need to come on the show because every time you say something, I need to correct it and give it factual data.
Yeah. I think that's why I had hesitation about us going on Facebook Live and doing things live, because then people can correct us immediately, and they do. And they do. So I don't care once it's out in the ether if it's right or wrong, but when I can see that we're wrong immediately.
There's another podcast called Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard. Do you ever listen to that one?
I don't know that one. I know you and I are both podcasts.
I love all podcasts. Armchair Expert has a fact checker that comes on after his show and just goes back and corrects all his infactual data. So
it sounds like he came up with the idea, so you need to run with that guy. All right.
Didn't he?
That's how it works around here.
He's a comedian.
Actor. Comedian, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Wasn't he like, I don't know.
He's on the Gain Tide commercials with his wife.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know who he is. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. We need a fact checker.
I think I could be wrong. Watch that whole fact. That's going to be unfactual.
I think Dan could be director of marketing.
I think Dan got a job. I know.
All I could say when I was here. I was like, he's right there. He's right there, Bill. You find a better one than him. I'll hire him.
It's funny. As soon as you said I'm looking for a VP of marketing, I saw Dan's eyes go. Hmm?
I didn't notice. I didn't notice because I was going, oh, Dan, this is perfect.
Wait, I'm going to put my resume together now.
I know. That'd be awesome if you could just clipped it and fed it right. It comes up.
Here it is.
It comes up on your screen right in front of them. That would have been amazing. No,
Bill, if you're still listening, you know who to call.
I'm texting him. I'm going to text him anyway. I say, dude, the man you need is right there.
It's nice to have people in your court. Thank you.
That's what you do.
Yes. I know.
You're a triathlete and you're in marketing.
I know.
A director of marketing, I think.
And you've done marketing for a motocross team, which is basically NASCAR.
Dude, if you don't even try, I'll be pissed off. I'm calling him.
You text him right now. Let me know.
I will. No, no.
He's busy at the finish line right now.
We'll discuss after we get off here.
Sounds good. Well, no, it's Rich again. So this is what I did, because originally I thought we were going to be down by our tent, but
this is way better.
I created our little 100th episode poster boards that I was going to have people sign for. So they're down. Yeah, so they're down by our tent that hopefully people stop by and we'll sign for our 100th episode.
If we have all our listeners sign it, there'll be like 8 signatures on there.
Don't give away our secrets, Rich. Wow, this guy's undressing in front of us.
I'm getting warm. It's warm all of a sudden.
I didn't know it was this kind of party.
What is going on right now?
Just got warm in here.
Bob Babbitt came up, stuck his head in while we were talking.
Stop it.
Did he really?
I swear to God, I have a picture of him. I have a picture of him walking away in shame.
Well, you didn't actually ever say that Rach was invited. He thought she just showed up.
Well,
I didn't know she. That's Bob.
I love it. No, I actually. But before you came up here, Richard, Bob was up here with Cameron, and
okay.
Yeah, he rode up in the elevator with us. So
right.
yeah.
Anyway, she didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
Oh, did she?
No, I texted her.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought she just came in.
Yeah, no. That was well planned, but I'm glad you thought that. Impromptu.
See how
nice.
well our show notes are. I have a good friend, John Davison, that just started a pickleball podcast last week, and his co-host. John
is this the one? Are you the co-host? Is this the one you're doing?
John is similar to me. He's similar to me. He's kind of this kind of off the cuff person, and his co-host is an attorney, type A, log book of notes for his first podcast. And I said, "You'll get over that soon."
I did see you writing notes over there though today.
He was writing about the nanobots.
I did. I wrote nanobots down.
Yes, I know.
I did. Singularity is here. I'm going to look up that book and the fails and rails. I need my joints are sore. Yes. My joints are always sore. I don't even.
All right. Well, I see Scott's looking at her watch. So
I'm getting notifications that my duathletes are officially on the run, which means Chris Courtney's going to be coming around here soon. Brad's on the course now.
This is amazing. I'm going to lift this up because people need to see what's going on right behind us. I mean, that's pretty incredible. Look at where we are right now. So, again, Rich, thanks so much, buddy. I really enjoy this, and owe you everything for starting the podcast because you're the one that came up with the idea. So
here's to 100 more, Dan.
All right, looking forward to it, buddy. Take care.
Oh, see ya. Bye.